Good afternoon.
Dobré odpoledne.
Today we are joined by the President of Montenegro, Jakov Milatović. Dear President, welcome to this Parliament. Thank you for your commitment and your leadership. I am especially pleased that this comes so soon after you hosted us in Montenegro at the first EU Western Balkan Summit and after I had the honour and the privilege to address your plenary Parliament earlier this month. This is, dear colleagues, Europe's enlargement moment, and Montenegro is leading the way. You have closed nearly half of all the accession chapters. Work has started on drafting the accession treaty, and our parliaments are cooperating closely to align legislation. In fact, this Parliament has always been a great supporter of Montenegro, and you can count on our continued cooperation as we approach the final stretch to accession. Because we understand that enlargement is not a gift. It is a two-way street that benefits all of us across Europe. That is why we want your voice in this House as we make decisions, your ideas and insights as we debate the direction of our continent, your expertise and your energy as we work towards a better future for all Europeans. Montenegro belongs in this Parliament and in our Union, and one day soon we may see Montenegrin members of the European Parliament joining colleagues in these seats. We are nearly at the finish line, and when we get there we will cross it together. So, dear President, welcome again. I give you the floor.
Distinguished Madam President of the European Parliament, dear Roberta, honourable members of the European Parliament, dear Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is a great honour to address you today in the very heart of the European democracy, at the moment when Montenegro is on the verge of achieving one of the most significant goals in our modern history. I'm addressing you on behalf of a remarkable Mediterranean country that has remained faithful to the grand European idea of peace, of freedom and solidarity, as well as the conviction that the peoples of Europe should build a shared future relying on trust, respect and the dignity for every individual. 20 years after the restoration of our independence, Montenegro today stands at the doors of the European Union. And this is a historic moment for my country, but also, I believe, a crucial moment for the enlargement policy. As the last country joined the EU almost 15 years ago, while in the meantime, one country left the Union. Therefore, this moment is an opportunity for Europe to demonstrate that reforms, democratic development and strategic consistency hold a rightful place within the European club. In 2006, Montenegro restored its independence peacefully and democratically. And in that moment, we also charted the course for our country's future. We chose to build a European, democratic, civic and open Montenegro, a country based upon the rule of law, strong institutions and a society in which diverse faiths, nations and cultures live together. And that choice has endured for 2 decades. It has been carried forward by different governments, different parliamentary majorities, and different generations of citizens. For Montenegro, therefore, the European path has never been only a foreign policy choice. It has been a social contract, a national consensus, and a steadfast foundation of values that has guided our country through change and anchored its vision for the future. Dear friends, our European orientation has been unwavering ever since, although circumstances have not always been favorable, nor has our journey towards the EU been linear. Indeed, shortly after Montenegro opened its accession talks with the EU, the European Commission President of that time, Mr. Juncker, declared that there would be no further enlargement during his mandate. Yet, Montenegro stayed on the course. On that part, there have been some setbacks, there have been some missed opportunities, and there have been periods where reforms took more time than our citizens or our European partners expected. Nevertheless, the European idea has maintained its strength in Montenegro because our citizens, the citizens of Montenegro, have recognized it as the path towards a more prosperous future. The reforms we are implementing have an impact on every citizen of Montenegro. They pertain to courts that operate with efficiency and fairness, to institutions that serve the public interest, to an economy that ensures prosperous life, and to young people, most importantly, to the young people who should be able to build their future within their own country. The reforms we carry out today shape the generations that will lead our country tomorrow. And that is why, for Montenegro, European Union membership holds profound internal significance. It represents the culmination of a national endeavor and the beginning of a new responsibility for us. In 2012, as a master's student at University of Oxford, I watched Montenegro take a historic step by opening accession negotiations with the EU, just as Ukraine and Moldova did yesterday. And almost 15 years after, and 3 years after being elected the president, I carry a clear mandate from the citizens of Montenegro to complete this journey and to secure our country's membership in the European Union by 2028. Honourable MPs of the EU Parliament, much time has passed since the last European Union enlargement in 2013. Even more time has elapsed since the 2003 Thessaloniki summit, when the European perspective of the Western Balkans was confirmed. And in the meantime, Europe has changed. The world has changed. War has returned to the European continent. Security challenges have become more complex. Geopolitical challenges have become our daily reality. And in such a world, enlargement takes on a new role, not only the role of a policy, but of a European imperative. Enlargement, dear friends, is an investment in stability and security of the entire European continent. It is an answer to those who wish to render the European space more vulnerable, more divided, and more insecure. It serves as proof of the European Union's political strength and its capacity to shape the future of its own continent. It is a reaffirmation that the European project continues to unite, to inspire, and to transform. Let me remind us all that the enlargement of the European Union to Southern Europe in the 1980s, only a few years after some of those countries emerged from decades of military authoritarian regimes, was not merely an act of expansion. It was an investment in stability, democracy, and prosperity, not only of Southern Europe back then, but for Europe as a whole. And the same logic guided the European project after the fall of the Berlin Wall. By embracing the countries of Central and Eastern Europe, Europe reunited with itself, healing the divisions of the Cold War and extending the space of peace, freedom, and opportunity across the entire continent. And that is why today I'm not speaking merely about the accession of one country, my country, Montenegro. I'm speaking about the European Union's capacity to fulfill its own promises towards the Western Balkans and uphold the principles upon which it was built. And among those principles, one stands out in particular, that progress must be measured by results, and that results must be recognized. Today, Montenegro is ready to serve as a proof of that principle. We have opened all 33 chapters and have closed 16, so the half. The Council of the European Union has begun work on the draft accession treaty with Montenegro, which is an institutional signal that our European finale has become a concrete political and legal process. And Montenegro, dear friends, in many ways already aligns itself strategically with the EU. Montenegro already uses the euro as its official currency. And since 2017, so almost for 10 years now, we have been a reliable member of the NATO alliance, as most of the EU countries. For years, Montenegro has been fully aligned with the common foreign and security policy of the European Union. And since the Russian war against Ukraine, this fact has gained an even greater significance as a testament to the depth of our strategic partnership. So Montenegro has already demonstrated that it knows where we belong. It has shown that it understands the responsibilities that a European future entails. It has proven its strategic reliability, its institutional seriousness, and the support of its citizens for the EU membership. Dear friends, the democratic maturity of Montenegro was particularly confirmed by the peaceful transition of power in 2020, while the results of 2023 presidential and parliamentary elections provided a new momentum, a new impetus to our European journey. In the years that followed, our institutions have demonstrated that Montenegro possesses the political will and capacity to conclude negotiations and to assume the obligations of a member state. However, there is still some work to be done, and we know that. Strengthening the rule of law, independent institutions, and building an even more efficient public administration, while at the same time focusing on our economic convergence with the EU, remain our key tasks. Montenegro enters this final phase with eyes widely open, with a clear awareness of what our responsibilities are, and with a very strong determination to bring this mission to its conclusion. And just 10 days ago, Montenegro hosted a very symbolic and for us a very historic EU Western Balkans summit. leaders of EU member states, of the European institutions, and the region all gathered in Montenegro for the very first time in our history. And Montenegro, though small in size, has proven itself large enough in vision, in capacity, as well as an ambition to host Europe and to serve as a place where the future of our continent is shaped and discussed. So if the summit in Thessaloniki opened the European perspective for the Western Balkans back in 2003, the summit in Montenegro, organized a few days ago, confirmed that the enlargement policy has regained its momentum once again, with Montenegro indeed leading the way. In Thessaloniki, Europe gave us a perspective. In Montenegro, we welcomed Europe with hope and determination that by 2028, Europe will welcome Montenegro as its newest member state. And let me come to a conclusion. I believe that this very European Parliament will hold a special place in the history of European enlargement. The last time the EU Parliament ratified an accession treaty of a forthcoming member state was in December 2011, almost 15 years ago. And I genuinely hope that you will be doing so during your mandate in case of Montenegro. And Montenegro's accession into the EU will be our joint victory, a success for Montenegro, a success for the European Union. And it will also be an encouragement for the entire Western Balkan region. It will be proof that reforms lead to the goal, that your promises hold credibility, and that the common future of Europe remains open to those who share the same values. So Montenegro's accession as the 28th member state of the EU by 2028 will mark the beginning of the fulfillment of the promise made a while ago. Restore confidence in the enlargement policy, contribute to the long-term stability of the Western Balkans, and strengthen Europe's global role in an era daily defined by geopolitical challenges. And let me be very clear about one thing. Montenegro is not joining the EU in order to become someone else. It is joining because it has always belonged to the European political and cultural space, a space defined by the values of multicultural harmony, dignity, and freedom, a space from whose Black Mountains, as our name says, some of the most noble ideas have risen and found their place in Europe's shared heritage. Montenegro brings the experience of a society that has preserved multi-ethnic harmony in a region very often burdened by a difficult history. We bring Mediterranean openness as well as the Balkan resilience. We bring a tradition of freedom and a European political orientation. We bring a reliable partnership in matters of security and foreign policy. And we bring the conviction that Europe is strongest when it gathers different traditions and identities around the same values. So, dear friends, my final message is that Montenegro is ready. Montenegro is ready to assume the responsibilities of a member state. We are ready to contribute to European policies. We are ready to bind our future to the common European future. and we are ready to be the next member of the European Union. This is a historic opportunity which lies before all of us. For Montenegro, it is a chance to complete a generational endeavor. For the EU, it is a chance to confirm the determination of its own enlargement policy. And for the Western Balkans, it is a chance to see that the European path brings tangible results. In 1878, at the Congress of Berlin, Montenegro became the 27th internationally recognized state. After a century and a half, the time has come for Montenegro to become the 28th member state of the EU by 2028. And the time has come to shape the history once again, together. So long live Montenegro and long live the European Union. Thank you very much.
Dear colleagues, we will suspend for 4 minutes when the vote will start at 12:30. Okay, dear colleagues, let's resume the sitting with the vote. Can I ask you to take your seats? Let's be on time. We start with a request by the ENVI Committee for urgent decision concerning the proposal on shipments of waste, export of mixed municipal waste for recovery to Switzerland. This is a vote which is a request for an urgent decision. Who is in favour? Who is against? Who abstains? It is approved, and therefore the vote will be held this Thursday. The deadlines are as follows. Amendments Wednesday at noon. Split separates and roll calls Wednesday at 7 p.m. Now we have the request by the Agri Committee for urgent